Protect your DNA. BioPQQ can promote formation of new mitochondria. Infowarsstore.com.
One thing that Obama certainly isn't going to be defeating with good ideas is this problem that we're having with illegal immigration. In fact, the Democratic campaign to relax national, local, and state deportation policies is fueling outrage, having the exact opposite effect. And of course, all of this has been ignited by the shocking slaying of a woman in San Francisco. She was shot and killed by an illegal immigrant who has 7 felony convictions. He had been deported 5 times. This is Juan Francisco Lopez Sanchez, and he said he chose San Francisco because he knew that it was a sanctuary city and it would not hand him over to immigration officials. Now, the Obama administration turned federal requests to detain illegal immigrants into something voluntary. And so many times the policy is just to release criminals back onto the streets, something that has been well documented here at Infowars and elsewhere. But kind of like this illegal immigrant who was also deported 6 times, just released right back out on the street. And now he has been charged in a felony hit and run of an Arizona family that injured a mother and her 2 young children. And there was another case that happened here recently in Texas. It involved an illegal immigrant who had been deported 4 times prior. And the police say that the man admitted to murdering his wife with a hammer. So all of this has just happened in the last few weeks. And this is just the stuff that we are told about, because a lot of times the news will kind of leave out that little detail that the person who was involved in the crime was an illegal immigrant. But here we have Donald Trump making these bold claims. And no matter what you think about, Donald Trump and his bad haircut, kind of the facts are holding up here for him. So he said, Mexico, when they send their people, they're not sending their best. People bringing in drugs, crime, rapists. And of course, the media's had a heyday with that because those comments are obviously very inflammatory, but they're not inherently wrong. This is according to Border Patrol report itself. Just under $3.5 million worth of marijuana has been seized in Arizona this past Thursday alone. And there's also been 40 cases of sex abuse by illegal aliens just this year. And that's just from what Border Patrol has posted as media releases on their website. And a staggering amount of those cases involve children and minors. So however you feel about Donald Trump, you honestly can't refute what he's saying. So it's the truth, and it's not any less true just because you don't like him or because there are people out there who wish to deny the facts.
Illegal immigrant deported 6 times, charged in felony hit and run, a family that injured young children still in the hospital. Meanwhile, the San Francisco sheriff defends releasing killer, calls Trump an opportunist. That's the sheriff of San Francisco County that had released the 5-time deported, 7-time felon who had shot the young woman. Francisco Sanchez just did it for no reason, according to witnesses, and then now he says he was shooting at sea lions, or it was in a bag, he didn't know it was a gun. I mean, believe whatever made-up story you want. We better just let him go or we're racist. This is how to paralyze people. Now Trump says infectious diseases is pouring across the border. Well, that's true. It's why you got to take all the medications when you go down south. I mean, it's just crazy. It's like saying when Europeans came, they didn't bring smallpox. It's just a fact. But now he claims the gun went off accidentally, and then it was wrapped up. But now at Trump hotel site, immigrant workers are wary of him. Well, let's find out if the construction company he's using has employed illegals. Because, by the way, it is a crime in Mexico, big time, to work in Mexico without a worker permit. But that's okay. They're allowed to put illegal immigrants for 6 months to a year, hard labor. It's okay. Mexico has the most draconian immigration laws in the Western Hemisphere because Mexico has some brown people in it. But if America has any laws, we're racist. Let's go ahead and go to the clip of the San Francisco County sheriff. Pretty sick.
Long before Francisco Sanchez opened fire and killed Kate Steinle on Pier 14, San Francisco's sanctuary city status has been a source of contention. Sheriff Mercarimi says the policy is clear. He needs a court order or a warrant. In Sanchez's case, ICE only asked for a detainer, which the sheriff says under city law isn't good enough.
Local governments have the right to require a legal instrument such as a court order
Look at that
or a
clown.
warrant.
ICE has no city-by-city breakdown,
Touring like
but
a
statewide. In the last
third
18
world general
months,
outfit.
more than 10,000 undocumented immigrants have been released from custody in California without immigration officials being notified. And the sheriff tried to turn the table on ICE, saying they are the ones that need to make sure they get it right.
If ICE does not provide the proper legal instrument, they are jeopardizing also the city's ability
Listen to that
to detain
fop.
somebody
That's enough.
against
Shut him
their
up.
will.
That is sophistic baloney. They gave them the instrument. You were supposed to under federal and state law, but you have a city law that no one will sue to reverse in 800-plus cities that you release felons, rapists, killers, who over and over again because they're an illegal immigrant. Oh, you'll turn a citizen over when they've been incarcerated for a state issue if there's a federal felony for something, but not if it's an illegal.
So the White House actually blamed congressional Republicans Monday for the death of that San Francisco woman, even though she was shot by a repeat offender illegal immigrant. And they also blamed a spate of gun violence last weekend in President Obama's hometown of Chicago on those lax policies, obviously overlooking the fact that Chicago has some of the toughest gun restrictions in the country. And it was the policy of creating these sanctuary cities where they don't honor immigration detainer requests. So that means that criminals are just released. There's no communication there with ICE and local sheriff department and all of that. So this is a big problem.
Brain Force is here. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been on this the last few months. You probably noticed I've been more crazed, more focused, less brain fog, more energy, more special reports, and it's because of Brain Force.
One of the worst things with most energy products is it's not sustainable, right? You're gonna crash afterwards. And the cool thing about this is it's not just a bunch of energy compounds that are gonna fire your brain up to a higher RPM or whatever, which it does do. This is sustainable. This isn't going to spike and you're gonna collapse and you're gonna feel really bad afterwards. This has a bunch of different antioxidants and compounds and polyphenols.
Everybody's on these drugs to knock their brain out because the brain's so fried.
We kept changing this formula over and over and over again until it became sort of a grand puzzle. For example, the L-theanine inside of it, that is activated by the different compounds in the yerba mate that we put inside of it as well. This just increases the compounds you already have.
This is what you're actually designed to run on.
Exactly.
It's kind of like a car will run on one form of junkie gas, but it runs really good on what it's designed for.
And that's the principle of Infowars Life, as far as I understand, that you've always had, is that it's not about synthetic chemicals and forcing actions. It's about letting your body do its own thing and giving your body the tools it needs to create these different compounds that are super valuable and super beneficial. We've all been dumbed down, whether we know it or not. There's always hidden additives in your food. Even organic food has hidden additives. I mean, we're looking at the television screen, at least, you know, for research purposes, whatever we've been doing, trying to learn something, or staring at the computer all day, working, doing good, you're still damaging your brain.
You will find Brain Force, Survival Shield X2, and other game-changing products at InfoWarsLife.com or call 888-253-3139.